What's the most unfair punishment you got as a kid? My parents let my sister decide if my injuries were real enough for doctors. I was lying on the kitchen floor with my arm bent at an angle that arms should never bend when my older sister Olivia walked in and said I was faking it for attention. Mom dropped the ice pack she'd been reaching for and turned to Olivia with this desperate relief on her face. Are you sure, honey? It looks pretty bad. Olivia barely glanced at me before pulling out her phone and scrolling through something. She does this every time I have something important. My college acceptance party is in 3 hours. She probably just twisted it wrong on purpose. The pain shooting through my forearm was making me dizzy, but I knew better than to argue. The rule had been in place since I was 9, after I supposedly ruined Olivia's 13th birthday by having what she called a fake seizure during her party. It hadn't been fake. The hospital confirmed I'd had a severe allergic reaction to something in the cake, but Olivia convinced my parents I'd known about the allergen and eaten it anyway to steal her spotlight. After that, every injury or illness had to be approved by my older sister before I could see a doctor. Dad came in from the garage and saw me on the floor with my arm clearly broken, the bone creating this horrible bulge under the skin that made my stomach turn when I looked at it. Olivia, what's your assessment? He asked this in the same tone he used for business decisions, completely clinical and detached. My sister finally looked up from her phone and walked over to examine my arm from about 3 feet away. She crouched down but didn't touch it, just tilted her head and made this considering sound. It's probably just a bad sprain. She's being dramatic because Taylor's coming to my party tonight and she has that pathetic crush on him. My face burned with humiliation because the crush was real, but this had nothing to do with that. I'd fallen off my bike trying to avoid hitting Mrs. Pemberton's dog when it ran into the street. The fall had been hard and fast, and I'd heard the crack when my arm hit the pavement. Olivia, please. My voice came out weaker than I wanted. I heard it break. I really need to go to the hospital. Mom exchanged a look with Dad, and I saw the familiar calculation happening. Taking me to the emergency room meant missing setup time for Olivia's party. It meant questions from the staff about why they'd waited so long. It meant Olivia being upset about the attention shifting to me. Let's just wrap it and see how you feel tomorrow, Mom decided, already pulling the first aid kit from the cabinet. If Olivia's right and it's just a sprain, we'll have wasted 4 hours at the ER for nothing. Dad nodded his agreement, and they both started gathering supplies while I lay there on the cold tile floor with my arm throbbing in waves that made black spots dance across my vision. Olivia went back to her phone, completely done with the whole situation. She called over her shoulder as she left the kitchen. Make sure she stays in her room during the party. I don't want her limping around playing for sympathy. They wrapped my arm so tight I couldn't feel my fingers after 10 minutes, then sent me upstairs with 2 ibuprofen and instructions to rest. I could hear them setting up for the party downstairs, hanging decorations and arranging food while I sat on my bed staring at my arm that was already turning purple and swelling so badly the bandage was cutting into my skin. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Kira asking if I was coming to the party since my parents had invited half the neighborhood. I typed back with my left hand that I couldn't make it. Fell off bike, arm hurt. She responded immediately asking if I'd gone to the hospital. When I said no, she called me instead of texting back. What do you mean you didn't go to the hospital? Your arm is broken, isn't it? Her voice was sharp with concern and I could hear traffic in the background, which meant she was already in her mom's car somewhere. Olivia said it's just a sprain and my parents believed her. I have to wait until tomorrow to see how it feels. Even saying it out loud made it sound insane, but this was just how things worked in my house. Kira had known me since 3rd grade and she knew about the rule, had witnessed it in action multiple times over the years. There was a long pause where I could hear her breathing and some muffled conversation with her mom. We're coming to get you. My mom says you need an x-ray right now. That's not normal parenting, that's medical neglect. I wanted to argue that my parents would be furious if I left, that Olivia would make my life even worse than it already was, but the pain was getting unbearable and I was scared about the way my arm looked. The party starts in an hour. Everyone will see you taking me. Olivia will lose it. Kira's voice got harder. I don't care about Olivia's party. You could have a compound fracture or nerve damage. We're 2 minutes away. She hung up before I could protest anymore, and I sat there feeling this horrible mix of relief and terror about what would happen when my parents found out. I managed to get a sweatshirt on over my wrapped arm, which sent fresh waves of agony through me that made me bite my lip hard enough to taste blood. I grabbed my wallet and phone with my good hand and made it down the stairs just as the doorbell started ringing with early party guests. Mom was in the dining room arranging a cheese platter and didn't see me slip out the front door where Kira and her mom were waiting in their car with the engine running. Mrs. Chen saw my arm and her face went white. She started to say something, and that's when things took a turn I never expected. To see the full story, click the link below or go on my channel.